let's talk about your conclusions, because I want to get to that. We can go back over some of the other, but I'm very interested in, as you've reported this and talked about it, and you've got lots of statistics in here for people who are into statistics, and I think a really deep read of those are very interesting. But for the people on the ground, right. The people who are living their lives, young women who might feel frightened, hearing about these stories. And certainly we've had some tragic ones where we've had, cases of drinking and women go missing, and that's different, obviously, than sexual assault.
And one of those happened at the University of Virginia about
right,
the same time.
Exactly.
And that was a murder.
That was a murder, right?
Yeah.
And when you when you send your children off to campus, to colleges, whether they're going part-time or full-time, and I know that impacts statistics as well, you want to know they're safe. And so I have some sympathy for those bureaucrats who are charged with that. The last thing they want, and I like to think that they all have good intentions. I sort of come from that point on the compass. Most people do. They want to do the right thing, and they have good intentions. So we're talking about parents. We're talking about young women. We're talking about young men. We're talking about, as you say, students, parents, the media, politicians, judges. Let's go through your conclusions and sort of, bottom line, if you had a kid going to college, what do you tell them under the circumstances today?
To start with parents, I have two wonderful daughters. They're through college, and frankly, there wasn't so much talk about campus rape when they were in college, right. And it never occurred either to them or to me, as far as I know, or to my wife, right. As something that we, that we needed to have high on our worry list. Of course, you worry about everything. Sure. But now, especially after all the noise and all the publicity, it's different. One of the more interesting conversations I had in this was with a female civil libertarian talking about her son and her daughter. She said, my daughter had a good head on her shoulders. She didn't get drunk. She didn't get naked in bed with people before she decided she didn't want to have sex with them. I didn't worry about her too much. I worried about her. I told her to be careful, and bad things can happen. Right. She might get run over by a bus stepping off a street corner, but I didn't worry about her too much, and I identify with that. She said, I worry about my son a little more, because although the mathematical odds on him being falsely accused of rape or sexual assault may be fairly low still, I know, because this woman knows the system, that if he is accused, he's likely to be toast, no matter how strong the evidence of his innocence. So we say in the book at the end, we advise your parent, be careful. We say, you might check out the disciplinary systems at your college, but I also say in my own voice, if I had a son, I would tell him, be a gentleman, treat women with consideration, never make advances that you don't think are wanted. But that alone is not going to guarantee you safety. You need to know that if you have sexual relations or foreplay with any woman who decides later that she wants to destroy you, she will have the power to do it. So choose very carefully. I'm not going to say you need to be a monk.
Right.
And we also say, by the way, if you stay away from women on your campus and date women from elsewhere, why you're a little bit less likely to end up in the hands of the disciplinary
system. Because those proceedings aren't going to go the same way.
Yeah. Now, but it's not a very satisfactory thing to say. I don't say take a television camera with you everywhere. I don't say have her sign a waiver. Right. And I don't say join a monastery. But be careful.
Yeah. Interesting.
And hire a lawyer. If you're accused, bang. Don't think this is going to go well. I'm going to get, it'll be settled. I'm telling the truth. They'll be fair. No, they won't be fair. Hire a lawyer. The lawyer won't be allowed to participate in the proceeding, but he will be able to
counsel you,
do some good things, counsel you, and in the end, sue them if necessary.
To students, well, that's what you just talked about. To the media. Let's talk about the media.
Well, I think the media, I'm afraid that many in the media are just a lost cause in terms of this. Take the New York Times. They were appallingly biased in the Duke lacrosse case. Long after Newsweek and lots of other, and most of the news media had realized that this was a fraud, the New York Times was still trying to shore up the prosecution, in an appalling way. And they never really came clean. So afterwards, one of their editors said, well, we've learned our lesson, we're going to do better next time. And they didn't do better next time. Every time a big sex case comes up, a big rape accusation comes up, and the New York Times decides to cover it, they write a guilt-presuming narrative. They did it in the case of Florida State quarterback Jameis Winston. They did it in the case, their 3-time Pulitzer Prize winner did that, by the way. They did it in a case at Hobart. They did it in a case at Yale, a quarterback, Patrick Witt. And so I guess what I would hope media people would do is finally get it through their heads that these cases are complicated, that some of the accusations are true, that some are false, and you should not just jump in assuming you're going to run to the rescue of the victim until you're sure she's a victim.
Right.
So, for example, in the Jameis Winston case, I'm not sure whether he did a rape or not. He's the Florida State Heisman quarterback. But I do know from the facts that the woman went to his bedroom voluntarily after meeting him in a bar, and then whatever happened, but she lied about every detail of her progress to the bedroom in the process of making her complaint. So should you believe the last part of her complaint, which was that he raped me when I got there? Well, you would not know, in all the thousands and thousands of words the New York Times wrote about that case, you would never have learned about those lies. They kind of erased from the record
It's
every
hard
lie
for me
she told.
to do the specifics of that case. And obviously, I don't know what Walt's reporting involved, and I'd have to look more close. I've read the piece at the time, but I'm not comfortable, saying.
Sure.
And I suspect they would argue, and you've been a reporter before too, we had really good deep sources, and we know more.
No, they
than
didn't
what we
argue
say.
that. I wrote an article in Real Clear Politics about them. They sent a response in. You don't have to get into it, but the response was pathetic. They didn't deny a single thing I said in my article, not one.
Well,
They
we
said,
won't
"Well, that's
want to
not what we were
adjudicate
doing."
that.
Yeah.
In fairness, in the same way that we say.
By the way, and I did spend 8 years there.
Yeah, right. You're a former Timesman yourself, right?